Hey there and welcome to the Lightroom segment on the Hipster Watch Pro tutorial. Basically this is going to be a pretty quick segment. I just wanted to take you through all of the capture files from beginning all the way to end. We're not going to look at every single one of them. That would just take a long time. But we're going to basically talk about the captures, building up the light, how we made the selects, how we actually do the workflow in Lightroom itself, doing exporting, and then basically from there we're going to open up things into Photoshop. So this is how I use Lightroom. Now, I really like Photoshop. It's where I do the majority of my work. A lot of people do, excuse me, quite a bit of work in Lightroom, and there's nothing at all right or wrong with either technique. I use Lightroom mostly as a catalog system and for flagging and for exposure changes and maybe white balance changes, but that's about it. I don't really do a whole lot of actual image adjustment in Lightroom itself, but there's nothing wrong if you do. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about our shoot. This is basically the watch as it begins. So let's just kind of click open some images and look at them real quick here. These are basically just the background plate. The background plate was changed a couple times. So bringing in the background plate, and that's what our watch basically looked like before setting up any of the light. No, it doesn't look like that bad. It looks kind of cool, but you really can't see a whole lot of detail. And for a for a watch ad or something like that, that just wouldn't really fly. So we start adding more lights, and you can see obviously from the photography part section of this tutorial that you can see where all the lights are placed and everything like that. So, and obviously I didn't light this, so these are this is not me doing these things. I'm just kind of showing you like that's how it started. Adding lights, adding more lights, moving lights, changing the background intensity. And you can see the watch is starting to stand out quite a bit better. So adding a light, adding a little bit more power to the light, changing the gel color on the background, bringing in that kind of like cool orange color, changing the angle in which everything was shot, and kind of continuing on going forward. Again, changing things like the lighting coming from the background, and there we go. A little bit more exposure on the foreground. Here we had some flare that was taken care with the polarizing gel, with the polarizing gel that Rob talked about in the in the photography part of it. Basically, rotating the polarizing gel got rid of that reflection. So that is just a rotation of a polarizing filter, which is pretty amazing, really. So those things are really, really handy, and they are quite an important part of product photography. That's really amazing. So now we're building it up with the lighting and still kind of working on the background. The lighting on the watch isn't changing a whole lot at this point. Adding more lights to light the band, and then adding a little bit of color to that light so it kind of matches the rest of the image. All right, so continuing on here, and then we can see this is the little like light gun that we have actually in the frame there. All right, and these lights that are on the face here, these are actually like the light gun as well. And these are just being like painted as the exposure is actually going. The light gun is going and doing some light painting. So continuing through, you can see like the lights are just moving. The little light gun and all of our little lights, they're just moving around to expose kind of different parts of the watch. And as this entire process goes through, some of these images are picked and then selected for export. Basically, as we say, okay, we've lit one area pretty well, like we like the face of the watch here, or maybe let's just go back a few. We like the side segment here. We're going to flag that and say that's going to be a pick for the side. All right, so continuing to the right, now we're going to load all the bubbles into the shot here, and you'll notice some of these are rotated around. The reason is some of these have been cropped in and kind of rotated already. That's how I got the files from Rob, so that's those have already been cropped, but the camera's not moving. It's just a crop that was done in the capture program. So as the bubbles come up, you can see they get more and more in focus and kind of changes a little bit of just changes the whole dynamic of the shot over and over and over again, which is very cool. So photographing just the watch, and then the bubbles with the watch, and then just the bubbles by themselves, and that's what's going to give us the background that we need to actually use in the final portrait. So once we've got that, pretty soon we'll switch over to our hipster. There we go. Let's just go to our captures for the hipster. Here's some test shots and some behind the scenes video and things like that. All right, let's go ahead and go down to our capture folder. There we are. And okay, here are our shots of the hipster. So we're starting again. The light is, really not that nice to start off with. This is just completely flat without any curves or anything applied to it. And continuing on to move, we added a background light to kind of shed some light, from the blue on forward to our subject here. You can see it in his coat there, and up in this area around his collar, and that's just going to help it actually like bring the color of the background in that final plate back onto our subject. And this doesn't have a gel, it's just a blue backdrop that a white light was on it and reflects off the blue and then kind of reflects back towards our subject. So a lot of different things were tried, using different types of cards, changing the angle of the lighting, working with the angle of his face, and in a second we're going to get to some pretty fun facial expressions. We thought, we did a lot of serious, let's like that, it's pretty awesome. We did a lot of serious, let's do some, kind of playing around facial expressions too. So just to give us some options, we tried with the sunglasses. You can see there's a huge flare here, a specular reflection, and basically this is from the parabolic reflector that's, camera left, and it's just huge. We did introduce a polarizing gel to kind of try to take care of it. You can see that in just a second here. There's the polarizing gel, and as it rotates, it does reduce the reflection, but it's also reducing the amount of light that's hitting our subject. In the end, it wasn't really worth it, and we liked the shots without the glasses better anyway, so we decided to take them off. All right, and that's obviously a misfire. Still kind of a cool image, but unfortunately it would not have worked on this particular image. All right, so there we have the addition of a hair light and kind of going through. All right, so that's our lighting. Oh, it's not a misfire, I apologize. That's our lighting buildup. So this is just the this is just the beauty dish. This is beauty dish plus the parabolic, which is filling in our shadows. That is the background light, which is giving him a little bit of a rim. And here's our background light on the background drop itself. And then here is with the light on his actual the hair, so the hair light. So I apologize, I said it was a misfire, but it was not. We did that on purpose. I actually do like this quite a bit. If we did the watch ads a little bit different, we could have used just this, in my opinion. However, it would be a little bit less, commercial in that aspect, a little bit more like your more artistic portrait, and then the watch would have to been like really just on black. So pretty cool as well. But here's our lighting buildup. So again, just the beauty dish plus the parabolic, which is for fill. Then we have the rim light on the right side. Then we have our background light, and then we have a hair light. And there's our image. Guys, thanks so much. Now, basically, we choose our images based on, which we think we're going to actually wind up using. So I'll just choose a couple pics. When I got the images from Rob, the pics were already made. So it's not, that wasn't really my decision, because this is not my photo. I am the retoucher on this photo, and it's important to understand your relationship in the whole process. So we'll just make a couple pics. We'll say that we like that one and that one and that one and that one. Yeah, those all look great. Now that we have our pics, you can right click on on one of your images, and we'll go down to export, and here to export. Now, what I do, I have a preset set up, which is for selects, and I'll just click on that. Basically, all this preset does is it formats it in a TIFF, ProPhoto RGB, which is the color space that I work in. Adobe RGB is also good, but I just prefer ProPhoto RGB. It's a little bit larger. You can choose to edit in 8-bit or 16-bit here, and the folder, choose folder later is useful for presets. That's what I usually choose as well. Now, if you want to click all your settings, something you're going to use over and over again, you've got all your settings that you like, you can just click add over here, and it'll add a new preset. So that's all I did. I just chose these settings, my image formatted TIFF instead of a JPEG or whatever, my color space, my bit depth, and all that, and then I just hit add and named it selects, and that's what we've got there. And then you just hit export and choose the folder that you want your selects to go through. I usually create a selects folder. So we have our hipster watch. This is behind the scenes. This is video that we captured. This is the capture folder, which is the actual images that were photographed. The master folder, these are the PSD notes or retouching notes. The output or the final output. So these are the final JPEGs that would get either delivered to the client or to the photographer if you guys are doing retouching. These can be JPEGs or TIFFs. And the selects are the files that, you're actually going to work on. So the order goes, you bring in the capture files, Then you export those out as selects, and then you open your selects and you start editing them, and then you save those as PSDs, and that goes in your master file for the PSDs. And then when you're done with that, you export those out to JPEGs or TIFF, and that goes in the output folder. And that's a pretty standard workflow that you'll see that kind of across the board in commercial photography. And you can see it pretty much in every one of our photo shoots. We have behind the scenes video, master files, output files, select files, and then in the middle of it we have shooting under the bridge or under the tree. So that's a different photo shoot, but you can see here is the same thing. So that's pretty much it, guys. Working with basically building up our lighting here in Lightroom, and then doing the exporting out and working from there. So what we're doing, we're gonna join us in Photoshop next time. I'm stumbling over my words. It's a lot to think about. I apologize. Okay, so we're done with Lightroom. The next segment is on Photoshop. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take all the images that we exported out here from the selects folder. We're going to bring them together in Photoshop and build our entire image. Guys, thanks so much for watching this. I hope it helped out, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.